In Wuhan, photos released from a Chinese media platform shows the death toll of CCP virus may be far greater than the official number. A fight involving thousands erupted on a Chinese bridge today as residents from the epicenter barred entry by a neighboring province, even though travel restrictions have been lifted. The U.S. now has more reported cases of the CCP virus than China, and China has been claiming 0 new cases in Wuhan for several days. So is it true that the situation in the U.S. is worse than China?
The motion is adopted.
On Capitol Hill, cheers erupting in the House as the chamber passes a $2 trillion emergency aid bill. And professors in Taiwan have developed a screening test that can detect asymptomatic patients as fast as 30 seconds. A medical expert tells us more. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The U.S. has ramped up its testing recently. It's now doing between 50 to 70,000 tests per day. New York State alone makes up 10,000 of them. But while the number of new cases is rising slowly in China, there's evidence the regime was limiting the number of available tests during its peak. In early February, when the outbreak was most severe in Wuhan, a medical worker said they were only allowed 2,000 test kits for all of the city's hospitals. People close to the matter said Chinese authorities were manipulating the numbers by controlling the distribution of test kits. Also, leaked documents show that on March 14th, there were at least 91 confirmed cases in Wuhan alone, but official figures only show 4. Also, people who test positive but don't show symptoms will not be counted as confirmed cases. So it's not accurate compared to U.S. figures with Chinese figures. And some schools have reopened in China. A school in Guizhou is one of them. Its 12th graders have returned. But soon after classes resumed, over 200 students there developed fever, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. Local officials denied it was from the virus and said it was food poisoning, since all the students live and share meals together. Some netizens pointed out that no local official would dare risk their position by saying it was from the virus. Others say since the 200 developed symptoms within 2 days, it's more likely to be food poisoning. But many don't trust the official report and want it investigated further. Professors at the National Taiwan University have developed a 30-second screening test for patients without symptoms. It measures lung inflammation to detect the CCP virus in its early stages. Since it delivers such rapid results, it can be used at airports. This handheld instrument is non-invasive and can directly measure the patient's lungs. It takes about 30 to 45 seconds to show results.
我们这个仪器可以随时放在初期或是严重肺炎或是这个甚至重症肺炎，然后也可以变成一个病程的一个监测仪，也不需要一直用 X-ray 还是电脑断层来量测，所以随时每一天都可以量。
We previously reported that local healthcare workers in the Czech Republic discovered testing kits from China had an 80% error rate. Now Spain has the same problem. Spain's kits only have a sensitivity rate of 30%. It should be 80%. Spain will now return them all to the Chinese manufacturer.
The batch that was sent to us does not meet the quality standards it is marked with. Obviously, it will all need to be returned.
But what's strange is Spain will get a replacement product from the same company, even though it doesn't have the proper license.
The company is going to exchange them. We will use a different type of rapid test and they will provide it to us.
Spain's health ministry is now also looking for other suppliers. A fight involving thousands broke out in China's Hubei province today. Authorities lifted travel restrictions on Hubei province, but a neighboring province won't let them in.
People from Hubei province, China's CCP virus outbreak epicenter, are now allowed to leave as travel restrictions are lifted, as long as the person has a green health code that shows his health is in good standing. But Hubei residents were refused entry by a neighboring province. Police from both provinces started clashing with each other on a bridge above the Yangtze River. Later on, more police and people from both sides joined, and the fight escalated, involving thousands of people. Video circulating online shows a police car overthrown amid the chaos. 2 vice governors of Jiangxi province resigned from their positions on the same day.
Thousands of urns at a Wuhan funeral home are further evidence that the CCP virus death toll in China is far greater than officially reported. NTD Xu and Rong has the details.
On March 26th, a photo was uploaded to Chinese media, Caixin, showing thousands of urns on a truck at one of the 8 funeral homes in Wuhan. The caption reads, "This truck is carrying around 2,500 urns. The same amount of urns was also unloaded from the truck yesterday." Families have been able to pick up ashes since March 23rd. According to official figures, 2,535 people in Wuhan have died from the CCP virus, but the Chinese regime have been underreporting the figures. A series of photos on the same website shows stacks of urns on the ground inside the same funeral home. The caption says one stack has 500 urns. There are 7 stacks in total. One of the funeral home staff told the Caixin reporter that many families had to wait at least 5 hours because there were too many urns and too little manpower. The waiting line outside the funeral home stretched for over 650 feet. In the same report, a doctor said that the number of virus deaths between January 20th and February 10th could be twice as high as official records because doctors didn't have enough kits to test people before they died. He also said many people die at home without being tested. So it's impossible to know the real number of deaths caused by the CCP virus. But as the Chinese government tries to control the narrative, many netizens are exposing the truth. One post says Wuchang Funeral Home in Wuhan started distributing urns on March 23rd. It plans to give out 500 urns a day and hope to finish before April 4th. This means one funeral home alone would hand out around 6,500 urns. This figure alone is twice the CCP's official figure for the whole of Wuhan. And remember, there are 8 funeral homes in Wuhan city. Reporting by Shi Wenrong, NTD News.
Chinese residents tell us why they think CCP virus is a more fitting name than novel coronavirus. NTD's Juliet Song reports.
An appeal on the White House petition website is calling for the novel coronavirus to be called CCP virus. It says the Chinese Communist Party's dishonesty created the pandemic, so the name should be changed to accurately reflect its origin. A resident from Shanghai, China, told us he thinks it's right to call it the CCP virus. We've twisted his voice to protect his identity.
The Chinese Communist Party covered up the spread of the virus. It inflicted significant damage in the world and on us Chinese people. The CCP is the one to blame. It can't escape from the damage it's done. History will definitely put it on a fair trial later on.
Under the influence of state propaganda, some people inside China don't think it should be called CCP virus. They say the name hurts China. But a Hubei resident agrees with the proposed name change. He said China is not the same as Chinese Communist Party, and the virus originated in Wuhan. Hubei is the epicenter of the virus.
It's a lesson for us people from Hubei and the people from Wuhan. I don't think it's discrimination. It is what it is.
The Chinese regime has been pushing conspiracy theories that the virus originated in the U.S. Some Chinese people fall for state propaganda. Hu said he knows an old man who complained he has to wear face masks every day because America created the virus. But he also says some people working within the Chinese regime are waking up to the lies of the party. They ask him for software to get around the internet censorship.
They said, "Who? We want to take a look and hear different voices. These people are the smart ones in the Chinese political system. They still have a conscience."
Hu believes freedom of information will bring about a positive change in China. He says after China's internet censorship is removed, it's likely the Chinese Communist Party will collapse on its own within 3 months. Reporting by Chang Chun and Juliet Song, NTD News, New York.
Cheers erupted in the House this afternoon as the chamber passed a $2 trillion emergency aid bill. It's primed to bring much-needed help to the virus-stricken economy and make up for Americans' lost paychecks.
The motion is adopted.
On Capitol Hill, a Friday vote met with applause in the House. The celebration came as the chamber voted to confirm a $2.2 trillion stimulus package designed to help the American public and the U.S. economy fight the devastating spread of the virus. The far-reaching bill was approved via long-distance voice vote. This as many lawmakers remain scattered around the country and were reluctant to fly back to Washington. It stands as the largest emergency aid package in U.S. history. The money will go toward loans, grants, and tax breaks for small and large businesses, as well as to unemployment benefits and direct cash payments of up to $1,200 to American families. Billions will also be sent to the nation's overwhelmed healthcare system. The decision comes after an unusual tactic by Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie, who tried to force a roll call vote and voiced his disapproval of the bill.
I came here to make sure our republic doesn't die by unanimous consent in an empty chamber, and I request a recorded vote.
With many congressmen absent, it could have delayed approval. But the presiding officer, Representative Anthony Brown, ruled that there was no need for one.
An insufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is refused.
President Trump later tweeting that Massie just wants the publicity. He called the vote a great win for the House, but suggested lawmakers throw Massie out of the Republican Party.
Well, thank you all very much. It's a very important day. I'll sign the single biggest economic relief package in American history, and I must say, or any other package.
The president explained the bill is twice as large as any relief ever signed. He said it stands at $2.2 trillion and may go higher. It's set to deliver urgently needed relief to the nation's families, workers, and businesses. Trump says the funds will keep small and large businesses strong, which keeps America strong.
New York officials say nearly 150 people died overnight from the CCP virus infection. Among them is the first reported death from the New York Police Department. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more on the situation in New York.
As New York continues to see the number of CCP virus infections grow and more deaths from it, more states are requiring anyone coming from New York to self-isolate for 14 days. States like Florida, Texas, Rhode Island, and Arkansas are threatening to fine anyone who doesn't isolate themselves after arriving from New York. New York's death toll now reaches over 500.
The length of time people are on the ventilator is increasing. And the more it increases, the higher the level of deaths will increase. And again, we expect that to continue to increase.
Right now, the state has a stockpile of ventilators that are to be used in the future as needed. The president is urging the state to distribute those ventilators to the hospitals. Posting in a tweet Friday, thousands of federal government ventilators found in New York storage. NY must distribute now. Also from the federal government is the U.S. Comfort medical ship, set to arrive in New York City on Monday, which will provide 1,000 more beds. In addition, New York just opened 4 makeshift hospitals with 1,000 beds each. Cuomo is asking the president's permission to open 4 more makeshift sites.
I want to have one in every borough. I want to have one for the Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island, Brooklyn.
And medical staff are needed to work at the makeshift hospitals. The state continues asking for more volunteers. Cuomo said there are now over 60,000 healthcare volunteers. More staff could be coming soon, as New York University is offering medical students the opportunity to start working as paid interns, starting 3 months earlier than usual. Melina Weisskopf, NTD News, New York.
And New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio said on Friday morning the city could stay in lockdown mode until May. And in Brooklyn, a shipyard has been converted into a face shield factory. Several companies are looking to make over 100,000 face shields for healthcare workers. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more on the shipyard.
Several businesses in Brooklyn have made a face shield factory out of a shipyard. These workers are producing tens of thousands of them for healthcare workers. Mayor Bill de Blasio toured the factory on Thursday.
They saw there was a crisis. They saw our healthcare workers were in danger. They said, what can we do about it? How can we make a difference? And they literally reached out to the city and said, we think we can make these things.
These workers are expected to make 120 face shields by the end of the month. In some cases, these shields can be used instead of face masks to conserve the N95 stockpile.
The doctors, the nurses, all the people who work in the hospitals, and they need this equipment so that they can be safe and they can save lives.
In New York, thousands have been hospitalized having been infected by the CCP virus. Other companies at the shipyard have transformed their businesses to conform to the pandemic, like Kings County Distillery, originally made bourbon, now making hand sanitizer. Miguel Moreno, NTD News, New York.
State and city leaders are giving updates on the CCP virus situation in their areas and announcing the efforts they are making to contain the pandemic.
State and city leaders are giving updates on the CCP virus situation in their areas. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser gave a tragic update about a staff member.
A member of my team who worked in the Office of Legal Counsel recently tested positive for COVID-19, and he passed away this morning.
The governor of Alabama had updates from the state while stressing the reality of the pandemic.
As of this morning, 538 people in Alabama have been diagnosed. 3 Alabamians have passed due to complications.
She also said that she authorized activation of up to 100 Alabama National Guardsmen to help with state efforts. Rhode Island Governor Gina Raimondo announced the state's travel quarantine rules.
Anyone returning to Rhode Island after traveling from New York to Rhode Island by any mode of transportation, so that includes plane, train, automobile, bus, however you get here, must be in quarantine for 14 days.
She announced a special rule for travelers coming from New York that includes self-quarantine for all modes of transportation, not just air travel. The USNS Mercy Hospital ship also arrived in Los Angeles on Friday to help with overwhelmed local hospitals. The state of Louisiana sees a skyrocketing of virus cases. Some suspect it's due to the state's Mardi Gras celebration last month, which brought domestic and international visitors to the state.
And new CDC guidelines say hospitals should consider separating new moms who have the virus from their newborns. That means they could be separated for up to 2 weeks.
The goal is to keep newborns from contracting the CCP virus. The CDC and American College of Obstetricians and Gynecology made the recommendations. The agency notes the mothers should be involved in the decision, and health workers should discuss the health risks and benefits of such separation with them. The Johns Hopkins Hospital and Massachusetts General Hospital are among the facilities now following the guidelines. But Johns Hopkins says moms have the final say.
The California National Guard at a local food bank today. They're helping to bag and distribute food in an area that's particularly vulnerable to the CCP virus spreading.
Men and women of the California National Guard rolled up their sleeves on Thursday to help bag and distribute food in Indio, California.
This mission is important because we're helping all Americans in need of food. Any resources they can't get readily on hand from the store, we're helping them by bagging the food and giving to them so they can use it for their families.
A platoon of 25 members has been assigned to assist this food bank's regional distribution center. Experts predict this area will be one of the areas hardest hit by the virus, given that 1/3 of its population is 60 years or older with underlying conditions.
Right now, the need has increased by 200 to 400% at a majority of our distribution lines and our agency feeding sites.
Officials say more than 10,000 troops have been deployed in 50 states to provide humanitarian assistance. The California National Guard have not been given a release date from their mission at Find Food Bank.
And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for COVID-19 this morning, the disease caused by the CCP virus. Our UK correspondent Jane Worrell has more.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has revealed he tested positive to the virus after developing mild symptoms of a persistent cough and a temperature. He said he will continue to lead the UK government response to the crisis via video conference call.
And on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer, I've taken a test that has come out positive. So I am working from home, I'm self-isolating, and that's entirely the right thing to do.
A personal concern for Johnson, his fiancée Carrie Symonds is pregnant. Pregnant women fall under the list of people advised to follow strong social distancing measures, along with those who have underlying health conditions or are over 70. Politicians across the spectrum have wished Johnson a speedy recovery. NTD refers to COVID-19, which originated in Wuhan, as the CCP virus, because the Chinese Communist Party's cover-up of the outbreak allowed it to spread across China and globally. The Prime Minister was recently criticised for allowing telecoms giant Huawei, whose close links to the Chinese Communist Party are well documented, a role in the UK's 5G network. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.
Following Johnson's announcement, the UK's health secretary also says he's tested positive for the CCP virus. And the US ambassador to the UK says China endangered the world by failing to do the right thing at the right time regarding the virus. The pandemic has spread to 199 countries, with over 500,000 people reported as currently infected.
U.S. Ambassador to London, Woody Johnson, puts the blame on China for telling lies about the CCP virus, commonly known as the coronavirus. He said these lies began when the regime suppressed information about the outbreak. He said the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, knew a SARS-like virus had emerged in the city of Wuhan in December. He said at that stage, the regime should have notified World Health officials quickly because of the potential threat to other countries. Johnson says this was an obvious obligation, but one that the CCP failed to do. He added that had China done the right thing at the right time, it could have saved lives. There are over 24,000 deaths from the CCP virus recorded worldwide, but the number of virus-related deaths in China are likely much higher than what's been reported. Currently, over 500,000 people have tested positive to carrying the virus, but that doesn't account for potentially thousands around the world that have not been tested and are in self-quarantine at home. Johnson also criticized Chinese regime officials for spreading false accusations that he called dangerous propaganda. He said there are lessons to be learned from the way the CCP behaved towards the international community, adding that the costs and implications of its behavior must be accounted for.
Observers are intrigued why those infected in Germany are 20 times less likely to die compared to Italy. Experts point to the testing and social structure as explanations. NTD's Germany correspondent Christian Watson has more.
Germany's low fatality rate among CCP virus patients stands out. Currently, only 0.5% of patients in Germany die, compared to Italy's over 10%. Experts point to Germany's rigorous testing regimen as one explanation.
Germany has started very early to test many more patients than in other countries. For example, right from the very first case in early February, we then tested everybody who had contacted with that person and put all these people in quarantine.
With more testing, you get a more accurate picture. That means there are probably many more undetected cases in Italy.
If you only test people with symptoms, you miss all the people with the mild courses of the disease, and then you have a worse picture of the true situation.
Today, Germany announced it will expand its testing capabilities. Last week, it did up to 500,000 tests. Another explanation for Germany's relatively low fatality rates may be found in the different social structures in Europe.
Those countries where this is more prevalent, that you have these multi-generational homes, these enlarged families living together, there you see higher case fatality rates.
In Italy, it's common for grandparents to provide childcare, and twice as many Italians live with their parents. Bayer warns countries with similar social structures like Poland to be prepared. Reporting by Christian Watson, NTD News, Berlin.
And in Russia, the virus is getting close to the president, while the numbers in Spain are still rising, creating problems for hospitals.
With a look at the latest number of confirmed cases of people getting infected with the CCP virus, we can see that Europe is still a hotspot for the spread. The number of patients is far too high for Madrid hospitals. Health workers have repeatedly said hospitals in the city are about to collapse. Spain has already ordered almost $500 million worth of protective gear and hospital equipment. In order to reduce the economic effects of the outbreak, the Spanish city of Barcelona is cutting its soccer players' wages. All players will face a compulsory wage reduction. A German town prepares a gym to round up quarantine offenders. 1 in every 5 people didn't follow the quarantine laws, so they designed the gym to keep people inside, if necessary, with the help of the police. The Kremlin confirms a CCP virus case in Putin's administration. It said, however, the person had not come into contact with the president. Now the government wants virus measures imposed in Moscow to be extended over the rest of Russia. A 95-year-old Swiss woman who got infected with the virus is now back home after recovering. She said she didn't think she was going to die at all and that she was not afraid at any point.
The travel sector has ground to a virtual standstill because of the coronavirus. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, 50 million jobs could be lost. The sector accounts for 10% of global GDP, and the council says it could take 10 months for the industry to recover after the pandemic is over. Following the outbreak of the CCP virus, many are staying home to protect themselves and others. But health professionals have done the opposite, remaining on the front lines in the fight against the epidemic. To thank them, a viral trend is urging people to show support. As countries and cities around the world go under lockdown, some are taking a moment to show their appreciation for those who risk their lives to help others. In Brussels, people are seen and heard from their windows. They're clapping, shouting, and even dancing. Similar events were held in Spain, Switzerland, and France. A sax player and a professional singer in Spain seem to have the same idea, to liven up their neighborhoods with balcony concerts.
And this is a way of thanking them from afar. I think they can hear it one way or another.
In Paris, the Eiffel Tower was lit up for 10 minutes in tribute to medical staff. Italians are also coming out to show their resilience by waving lights and cheering from their balconies. Other activities like singing the national anthem, playing instruments, dancing, and applauding from windows have become a daily part of Italian life amid quarantine. Their movement towards positivity has also gone viral online. While in Copenhagen, people are also boldly expressing their gratitude.
A lot of people will start opening the windows and coming out onto the balconies and cheering for all the people who are keeping Denmark afloat at the moment. And so also sending love to all the people who are home alone, or just reminding each other that we're in this together.
After their cheers and applause subside, locals shout good night, see you tomorrow before closing their windows. In South America, Peru and Brazil have also joined the campaign, while Israelis cheer for medical teams and paramedics inside a medical center. The idea is beginning to take root with U.S. social media users on Twitter, inspiring the hashtag #SolidarityAt8. Many are calling for the tribute to become a nightly event. Here at China in Focus, we bring you first-hand information from inside China. Don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates.